Let me let you in on a secret. First job is the hardest. And I know this because I've gotten my first job before. And after that, every subsequent job search has gotten easier and easier. And the reason is because every time an employer is looking to fill a position, they're looking for someone with similar experience. So if you already have that kind of experience, then it becomes easier to get a similar job later down the road. But how can someone who doesn't have any experience get the first job, right? So it feels almost like chicken and an egg question, except there isn't a chicken or an egg. There is no starting point if you don't have any experience. Let's talk about how you can land your first job if you don't have any experience to start with. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do. And within just a couple of months, I'm sure you can land your first job. So let's get started. So the first thing that I would advise you to do is to know your game. As mentioned before, the first job is going to be the hardest one. So with that being said, you can just come in with a mindset that you'll be rejected a few times at the very least. In fact, it's really likely that you'll be rejected tens of times, and in rare cases, hundreds of times. This is a completely normal part of the process, so do not be discouraged if this happened to you. And instead, being rejected actually can be the best thing that could happen to you, aside from actually getting the job. And the reason is because rejections can actually tell you a lot about where you can improve. Don't get me wrong, just getting rejected over and over again won't give you any feedback. In order to make yourself even better, you have to create a feedback loop. And I'll give you an example. So let's say you got rejected from a job interview, right? And maybe they won't even follow up with you, and which is actually really common. So what you need to do at this point is to maybe let them know that you're grateful that they took their time to interview you. Even though we didn't make it this time, how can you improve next time around? And what might have gone wrong, what went well, so that you can improve upon them for the next time. And with this approach, I would say 9 out of 10 times they'll respond back to you with a very friendly and constructive criticisms. And take note of all these. You'll begin to find a common pattern where people thought your skills were a little bit lacking or below standard, and there will also be parts where they really enjoyed. So in your next iterations of your portfolio, interview, or any kind of experience, you can start to reinforce the weak parts and emphasize your strength. So that is the number one tip. Solicit feedback even when you're rejected. And the second thing is that getting rejections over and over again can feel quite discouraging, especially when you're not too familiar with the rejection part. Even when we apply for, college or grad school, I think it's more common for people to apply to like tens of places and maybe get rejected by at most 10 places. But when you're actually applying for a job, it's really likely for someone to apply to like 50 or 100 jobs. And it might feel quite unfamiliar to you to get like tens of hundreds of rejections. Rest assured, this is a very normal process, and there's really nothing to worry about. Even the brightest students I've seen so far have trouble getting their first job. So don't be discouraged, and instead, keep applying. So number 2 tip is to keep applying when you get rejected. Set yourself a goal to apply to 10 places every single week. And this is much better than applying to like 20 places in one day and getting burnt out. Try to come up with like a list of companies that you want to go to. Maybe start with your local companies that you can actually just walk into the office, all the way to international offices and really well-known offices. And by spreading your net as far as possible, you'll be able to expand your opportunity and odds of success by that many times. So the more you do, the better you'll get, especially when you combine it with our number 1 tip, which is to solicit feedback whenever you get rejections. And if you do this, multiplied by the number of applications you send out, within no time, you'll continuously get better and become a qualified candidate. In other words, there is no one who starts perfect from the beginning. We have to get into the mindset of thinking that we always have to learn something. This stays true even when you get a job, and even when you've become a full licensed architect, there will always be something you'll have to learn. And this starts from the beginning all the way from applying stage. And like we mentioned before, whenever you find the areas that you can find improvements on, take more proactive approach to actually improve them. And this can come in the form of, let's say, taking courses at your school, taking some local college education, or even taking online courses, and that's totally fine. As long as you can reinforce your weakness and prove to your future prospective employer that you are capable at doing something. This is really all you need to do in order to become a better self, of course. If you continue to repeat this process, you build up a library of skills that nobody even taught you at school. But you become someone who's like a lot more qualified than someone who didn't do anything after their school. Some areas of expertise that you can really specialize on include graphical representation, BIM proficiency, as well as actual professional accreditations that you can get without license. And that includes things like LEED certifications, so make sure to look into that if you're interested. And here's my last tip, which is to look into alternative sources of opportunity. There's a saying that goes like, opportunities are opportunities. It doesn't matter whether your opportunity comes in the form of full-time job or a path towards becoming a full licensed architect. There's actually a myriad of choices out there, and the field is becoming more and more diverse, and there are tons of opportunities to make great living, satisfying career without having to go through the golden standard. So if you've been like really narrowly focusing on this like really well-beaten path, maybe look sideways and think about other opportunities that might be available to you. An example of that can be like finding some freelance work, volunteering for your local community, and maybe even just building your side projects. This can really all build towards building a great portfolio, experience that can lead to even more opportunities in the future. So I'll give you a short list of websites that you can use to find some freelance work to get started. And that includes websites like Upwork, Fiverr, and Freelancer. We'll have the links in the description, so make sure to check that out. So to summarize, be prepared to face rejections and do not be discouraged. This is an opportunity to first solicit feedbacks to find out where your weaknesses are in a very objective manner. Once you have done so, continue to apply. You can get rejected like hundreds of times until you get the first job. The first job is all you need to get yourself started. There are hundreds of jobs out there. All you need is one job. So keep applying and keep soliciting feedback and continue to learn and gather more skills into your tool belt. And once you have done so, you'll be prepared to get a full-time job or even freelance work. By this time, you've probably built up your portfolio so that you'll be totally eligible to pick up some freelance work to start with. And that can transition into all kinds of things that you may not have imagined before. Maybe your client really likes your visualization, so maybe they'll onboard you full-time. Freelance market is actually growing so quickly that some people can make full-time or even much better six-figure income from doing freelance work. So I'll strongly recommend you look into this and take all these advices into consideration and let us know how it goes. We would love to hear from you guys. Hope you guys found this video useful. You can get a bite-sized tips and tricks like this from our YouTube, Instagram, newsletter, and website, so make sure to check out the platform of your choice. With that being said, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye now!